Hello historians, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Explore World of Warcraft Classic. Today we'll be exploring Westfall and continuing the Defias Brotherhood mystery. I've decided to go ahead and read a new book at the beginning of each episode as we have 35 of them to get through. So it's time for a new segment of the series, Warcraft Storytime. We can begin with Sargeras and the Betrayal, found in the Inn and Ratchet. Over time, demonic entities would invade the Titan worlds from the Twisting Nether, and the Pantheon sent their greatest warrior Sargeras as the first line of defense against them. He was a noble giant of molten bronze. Sargeras carried out this defense for millennia, seeking out and destroying demons wherever he could. He encountered two powerful races, both seeking to gain power and dominance over the physical universe. The Eridar, devilish sorcerers, used their magic to invade and enslave worlds. These worlds were then mutated by the Eridar's powers and turned into demons. Seeing the depravity, corruption, and all-consuming evil of the demons led Sargeras into a depression. Despite his growing unease, he rid the world of the Eridar by stealing the warlocks in a corner of the Twisting Nether. He was then forced to contend with the Nathrazim, a race of vampiric demons also known as Dreadlords. They conquered planets by possessing the inhabitants and turning them to the shadows. Whole nations turned against each other with unthinking hatred and mistrust. Sargeras defeated them easily, but the corruption affected him. As his depression overwhelmed him, Sargeras lost all faith in his mission and the Titans' vision for an ordered universe. He eventually came to believe order was itself a folly and that chaos was the only absolute in the dark, lonely universe. The Titans tried to calm his raging emotions and lead him back to order, but he disregarded their beliefs as self-serving delusions. Leaving the Pantheon, he set out to find his own place in the universe. The Titans mourned his loss, but could never predict what this would lead to. When Sargeras finished his descent into madness and lost his valiant spirit, he believed it was the Titans that were responsible for the failure of creation. He decided to undo their work in the universe and resolved to make an unstoppable army that would set the physical world ablaze. His bronze form became distorted from the corruption, erupting fire in his hair, beard, and eyes. His skin split open to reveal an endless furnace of hate. In his fury, he released the Eridar and the Dreadlords, who bowed to him and offered to serve him in any malicious way they could. Sargeras picked two Eridar to command his army. Kil'jaeden the Deceiver was chosen to seek out the darkest races in the universe and recruit them. Archimonde the Defiler was chosen to lead the vast armies into battle against any who would resist his will. Kil'jaeden then enslaved the Dreadlords and used them as his personal agents throughout the universe. They took pleasure in locating primitive races to corrupt and bringing them into the army. The leader of the Dreadlords was Tichondrius the Darkener, and he agreed to spread Sargeras' burning will to all corners of the universe. Archimonde empowered minions of his own, calling them the Pit Lords, who was led by Manaroth the Destructor. He wanted to use them to scour all life from creation. His army now amassed, Sargeras launched his forces into the vastness of the Great Dark and called them the Burning Legion. It is still unclear just how many worlds have been consumed across the universe to their burning crusade. I believe this book was written before it was known that the Eridar came from Argus after being tainted by Sargeras. The timeline could also be non-linear, and the Burning Legion used the astral Twisting Nether to assault Sargeras in the physical past to ensure he would become the leader, closing a time loop, essentially. This concludes Warcraft Storytime. We can begin exploring Westfall. At the border, we can talk to Farmer Furlbrow. Hooligans had stormed their farm in the middle of the night. They fled quickly and he forgot his pocket watch. Verna's father gave him that watch on their wedding day and does not want to leave it to the thieves. We can find it in the wardrobe in the farmhouse to the west at the pumpkin field. Verna Furlbrow never thought she'd leave her farm, but it's too dangerous now. Once they fix their wagon, they can be on their way. She has a recipe for Westfall stew that she wants us to give to Salma Saldine if we could run it to her just south of here. Old Blanchie is tired after all the work they've put her through. They don't have any feed for her since they didn't expect to break down. If we could find some oats for Blanchie, she'd be grateful. Oats are all over the farms, if we could dodge the horrific machines that have taken over them. We can head south to the Saldine farm and talk to Farmer Saldine. These parts used to house good folk, but they've all been overrun by thieves. He hasn't been run off yet, but the Harvest Watchers have taken over his fields. He hopes he can get rid of them for his farm and the neighboring fields as well. Inside of the house is Salma Saldine, who's going to miss Verna. We give her the Westfall stew recipe. Verna is a sweet girl, but Salma believes she's a city girl at heart and will do well in Stormwind. Now Salma can make some stew. She's making Gortusk liver pie and has all the ingredients ready except for the livers. Time to collect some for her. To make Westfall stew, she needs vulture meat, Gortusk snouts, murloc eyes, and okra. What an interesting list of ingredients. We can now gather many items throughout the farms in the northern half of Westfall. In the Furlbrow's farmhouse, we can take out some Defias, including a mob named Benny Blanco, who is a reference to a gangster character in a movie Carlito's Way. We can grab the pocket watch from the cupboard. Following the wildlife to the coast, we can grab the 3 murloc eyes we need for the stew. Next, we get the 3 vulture meat along the river after following the birds around the zone. The next ingredient we get is the 3 Gore-Tusk snouts. Still no livers though. We get the final ingredient, the 3 okra, from the harvesting machines found in the various farms. Then finish up the 20 harvest watchers. Back to Farmer Saldine, he tells us we do good work and gives us our payment. We give the Westfall stew ingredients to Salma, who will give us the first batch of stew thanks to our help. Not sure I want to eat this, I don't know where those murlocs have been. We can talk to Farmer Saldine and grab a bag of special chicken feed. I don't know who figured this out, but you can do the chicken emote at any of the chickens on this farm. If you do this emote a bunch, eventually the chicken will trigger a quest. This took me about 10 minutes of clicking this emote macro, by the way. I apologize to whoever in the zone had to listen to my character cluck over and over. The chicken demands feed from Saldine, and when did it learn to write? We need to emote cheer at it when we have some. Since I already have the feed, I cheer at the chicken. We offer the feed and it gobbles it up. It then lays an egg after this. What was in that feed? We can pick up the egg, and now we have a chicken pet. Nearby people who also want a chicken pet come to try their own clucking luck. We grab the last handful of oats we need. Back to Farmer Furlbrow, we give him his watch back. He's thankful and gives us a reward of fresh bread and milk since he doesn't have any money. We give Verna the oats she wants for Old Blanchy. She thanks us and lets us know Old Blanche will be so happy too. We can now head to Sentinel Hill and talk to Grian Stoutmantle at the tower. While he was away helping Lordaeron, thugs took over the farms here. The People's Militia needs our help. The Stormwind Monarchy has abandoned Westfall and it's up to the People's Militia to protect the land. They have one goal, return peace to Westfall, but unfortunately the price of peace is often blood. Defias has been spotted at the Jangalode Mine, the Molson Farm, and the Furlbrow Farm. If we wish to help, we can take them out. Grian also needs us to infiltrate the Defias to find out who's the head of the cartel and where they are based. In the Lakeshire Inn in Red Ridge, we can speak to Wiley to find out what they know. Next to Grian is Captain Donovan. Even though Stormwind has abandoned them, the farmers of Westfall will take up arms to protect their home. He needs us to patrol the grasslands for gnolls. They are working with the Defias and need to be dealt with as well. We can return 8 paws as proof. Inside the tower you can find a quartermaster who is selling most general goods. South of the tower is the Griffin Master. Across the road to the left is some traveling carts with a bread merchant, a bower selling limited bows, and a trade supplies vendor with a couple tailoring and leatherworking patterns. There is a lumber yard next to the inn, which seems to be using limited trees to finish building or repairing the inn. There's also a trade supplies vendor here. At the corner of the lumber mill we can talk to Scout Galleon. He's been following the movements of the Defias for a while now. Many members can be tracked by the leather bandanas they wear. We can bring back some as proof for a reward. Are you sure you guys don't want an entire head instead? No? Fine, just the easily created leather bandanas, I guess. We head north into the hills and farms, tracking a trail of bodies until we get to the Jangalode Mine. We finish up the 15 trappers we need in there, then the 15 smugglers outside the entrance. Continuing north from the mine, we find the gnoll camps. We take them out until we get the 8 paws we need. Back to Sentinel Hill, we give the paws to Donovan. With the help of adventurers, the People's Militia just might return Westfall to prosperous times once again. Grian thanks us for our efforts. His scouts witnessed our actions and we are proving ourselves quite well so far. Mortifius has been seen plundering the Gold Coast Quarry, Moonbrook, and the Alexton Farmstead. We should eliminate them swiftly as this behavior will not be tolerated. I forgot to hit record again after a break, so we already killed the 15 Defias looters out of the farmstead and collected Aliston's compass. It was in this chest in the burned out building here. We continue circling the farm until we finish the 15 pillagers. Back to Grian, he's satisfied with our efforts to purge the Defias from Westfall. There are Defias looting the countryside in the far south of Westfall. They are most likely hiding in the Dagger Hills. Time to go out murdering again. We head to the southwest coast first and swim out to the lighthouse to talk to Captain Grayson. We should not be alarmed as, though he is dead, he wishes us no harm. All he wants is peace and our help to get it. The night the lighthouse keeper's family died was horrible. Old Merc Eye led the attack. Since the lighthouse is now empty, it falls to him to keep the watch on the flame for all the ships who come close to the perilous rocks of the coastline. He needs flasks of oil to keep it lit. We have some from the Harvest Watchers earlier. We give him the flasks and he thanks us as this will spare many lives as long as the torch is lit. He died needlessly this way, so he wishes for no others to follow him. There are a lot of shipwrecks along the coast. The Great Sea is tumultuous indeed. Ships come along shore expecting to find a clear beach, but the Murlocs are trouble. If we can clear the beaches, we will be rewarded. He had died after Old Murloc had run off the light keepers, so the light was not on when his boat sank. The keepers managed to return to relight the tower, but they did not escape a second attack from the Murlocs. He wants Old Murkeye dead, and we can bring him back a scale as proof. Well, the Old Murloc is right behind us, so let's take him out and grab his scale. We can take out the Tide Hunters in the nearby camp, then head north up the beach. The Oracles are taken out at the next capsized boat. Halfway up the beach, we find and take out the warriors, and all the way up to the northern tip we take out the coast runners. The Murlocs can drop a treasure map, so we kill every Murloc we see on the way back to Grayson. 25 minutes later, and a trip back south, we take a break from the Murloc slaughter to hand in the quest to Grayson. He thanks us for making Westfall safer by clearing off the beaches. We definitely went above and beyond for this quest. We give him the scale of Old Murkeye, and he praises us for our good deed. We have saved many lives by protecting the lighthouse from further raids, so ships may pass safely. We continue the Murloc purge for a few more minutes, and my friend picks up the treasure map. The only map. Not even a group item, just one optional drop. What the hell, Blizzard? Why would you make a quest item this way? Suffice to say, my friend was thoroughly done with killing Murlocs, traded me the map to film it, and washed their hands of doing that quest. Captain Sanders left a note in case of his death. We can follow the clues to find his treasure. First, we need to find his footlocker along the coast near a shipwreck with a rusty anchor. Back up the coast, we find the rusty anchor with a box in front of it. There is a crab inside with our next clue. The next spot we need to find is east of the bluffs and to a road. There should be ruins with a chimney nearby with a barrel. Indeed, there is a broken barrel on the side of the road next to the chimney. From here, we need to go north until we find a jug next to a lone windmill on the bluffs. Along the way, we finally get the 8 livers we need from the boars. We've been killing them this entire time going to each quest. That's just how low this drop rate was. We find a jug next to a log in front of a windmill at the northern coast. This clue's ink runs a bit and smells of whiskey, but it's still legible. Go west and swim until we find an island with a treasure chest. We do so, and also find a skeleton and a shovel, so it looks like Sanders was going to bury the treasure chest before he was violently stabbed if the dagger in his skeleton is any indication. We force the chest open and find a silver bar, Sanders' clothing, and a bag. Back to Selma, we can finally give her the liver she was looking for. She gives us a portion and the recipe for our hard work. We can head south into the hills and start taking out Defias. The 5 knuckle dusters go down first, then we find Grimboo's Thunderbrew. He needs hops to make a keg of Thunderbrew. We need a keg for our quest in Red Ridge, so we can collect the 5 hops from the Harvest Watchers around here. Continuing along the mountain pass, we finish off the Pathstalkers and go back around to the beginning to get the last Highwayman, and the red 15 bandanas in Moonbrook. We head to the Alexton farmstead and kill the Harvest Watchers until we get the 5 hops. Back to Sentinel Hill, we can talk to Gryon, who says there is hope for Westfall yet, as we have proven. He inducts us into the People's Militia as we have served with honor. We bring Galleon the bandanas, who rewards us with a piece of gear for our hard work. Back up into the South Hills, we bring Grimboo's the hops. He speaks in rhyme and gives us a keg with a bit of a whimsy. We can give him hops again if we lose the keg, so best to stash this in my bag somewhere where I won't accidentally sell it. The only quest we have left is to talk to Wily in Red Ridge, which means it's time for another travel montage. We arrive at Lakeshire Inn and talk to Wily the Black on the 2nd floor. He owes Stoutmantle, so he'll give us the info we are looking for. The Defias are up to something big and are working with the gnolls, kobolds, and even goblins. He gives us a note to take to Stoutmantle that explains all he knows about it. While we fly back to Westfall, let's read the note. The Defias is much larger than we think. Every mine from Westfall to Elwyn is under their control, using the gnolls and the kobolds to run them. Goblins are creating the Harvest Watchers to frighten the locals away from their farms. Their base is a vast underground network from Booty Bay and Stranglethorn Vale to Stormwind. Inside is a weapon of mass destruction that apparently the stonemasons are building. We can give the note to Grayson, who seems a little ungrateful that Wily is essentially risking his life to the Defias by giving this information to us. Gryon is unsure on the information that the stonemasons are in the Defias. To be sure, we should ask Matthias Shaw at SI7. We can bring Matthias Wily's note to see if there's anything he can add to it. We head back to Stormwind and give Matthias the note. He confirms that this may be more complicated than we've realized. The Stonemasons Guild was run by Edwin Van Cleef. They rebuilt Stormwind after the First War when the Orcs destroyed it. Van Cleef and his men were unhappy with their treatment after they did this, which might explain why they are now bandits. Matthias gives us a note with a more detailed account to bring to Gryan. We can quickly head to the Cathedral District to give Barrows the compass we found. Even though this item has no practical use, it's rich in sentimental value. He thanks us for taking the time to go to Westfall and retrieving it, even though it was dangerous to do so. We can read Shaw's report before giving it to Gryan. The stonemasons were comprised of the most skilled builders among humans. They rebuilt Stormwind with their peerless artistry, evident in the Cathedral of Light and Stormwind Keep itself. The nobles of Stormwind ran a huge debt by expanding through Elwyn and into Stranglethorn Vale. This crippled the economy, and the nobles refused to pay the stonemasons for their years of work, leaving the builders poor and forgotten. Matthias knew Edwin his entire life as a childhood friend, and personally trained Edwin in the ways of SI-7, hoping he would consider a career working with Matthias. That Edwin might be using these skills to lead the Defias means that we have a difficult fight ahead. We give the note to Gryan, who also knows of Van Cleef. To think such a hardworking and talented man could turn to such heinous actions is unthinkable. He needs more proof before believing this. We need to find the location of the Defias hideout. There is a Defias messenger sent on the roads between Moonbrook, the quarry, and the Jangalode mine. We need to capture him, or, if he resists, kill him and take whatever he is carrying. My friend and I take different directions along the road to find the messenger. They find him first, walking towards the mine. He resists, of course, and we take him down and take the message he is carrying. It's a note to someone called Blacknails from Van Cleef. He needs supplies from the north. Strip any railroad pike, even any water bucket, they need metal. A shipment is due from BB, most likely Booty Bay, but it's overdue. Blacknails needs to bring the supplies to the barn, as there is no time to lose. We can give the note to Gryan, who can use this as firm proof that Van Cleef is in charge. Now we just need to know where the Defias is based. While we were gone, they captured a thief trying to steal the Saldine's wagon. He will lead us to the hideout in exchange for his life. We need to escort him there, then report back where the location is. We can talk to the Defias trader, who tells us we need to watch his back while he leads us, as the Defias will want his head now that he's a traitor. We better bring friends, as this will be dangerous. Thankfully, he runs the first part of the journey until we reach the outskirts of Moonbrook. We walk the main road south until we find a very large barn. He tells us that this is where the Defias have hidden themselves. Back to Gryan, we tell him the news. He's happy we can take down Van Cleef now that we know where he is hiding. We need to assassinate Edwin Van Cleef to protect the innocent citizens of Westfall. Gryan takes no pleasure in condemning a man to death, but it must be done. We can bring his head back as proof. Humans coming through once again for another head tally. At the top of the tower is Scout Rail. The material a Defias' bandana is made of signifies the members' rank in the Brotherhood. The high-ranking members wear silk bandanas and will no doubt be found in Van Cleef's hideout, the Deadmines. We can collect 10 as proof of demise for a reward. We gather a party for Deadmines and find a helpful level 70 shaman who doesn't mind coming with us. We go to the cave-in area in the overworld first to get Thistle Nettle's badge from the undead area. There isn't enough mobs here to get all the Union cards, so we will come back after the dungeon. We head to the entrance and zone in. We head through the caves to the first boss, Raxor. He has 2 watchmen with him and is blocking the door. We take him and the goons down, then move on to the next tunnel. The next room is a lumber mill with wood carvers and Sneed's shredder. We take out the shredder, then Sneed pops out and we take him down too. He drops gloves that the other mage wins. We take the gnome Spreckle Sprocket for Shoni from the shredder and head back into the tunnels. We find the last of the 10 bandanas needed in this tunnel. The next room is a giant furnace with a bunch of goblin craftsmen and engineers. The door here is blocked by Gilnid the smelter. Down he goes, and my friend gets a new pair of pants. Moving along, we find a barrel of blast powder in a side tunnel and use it on a cannon to let us through the next door. Inside this hidden cove is a large warship covered in Defias pirates. Blocking the way on board is Mr. Smite. He stuns you to change weapons, which is a bit of a scary thing as a squishy mage when you can't do anything about the rogues wailing on you. To the left we take down Cookie, who drops his wand. Sad that it's just slightly worse than the one I have. We climb up the ramps to the top deck and take down Captain Greenskin. While the other mage and I debate on who gets the staff, the level 70 heads on over to the ship cabin and instantly wrecks Van Cleef. We head over to help with the guards, then make sure to grab the head we need. Count 38. He also drops an unsent letter and a new chess piece for my friend. We head back to the undead cave and finish gathering the Miners' Union cards we needed. I also open the unsent letter for a quest. The letter found on Van Cleef is for Barrows Alexton in the Cathedral Square. It looks to be recently written and sealed. Back to Sentinel Hill, we can give the bandanas to Riel. She salutes us for our efforts, and soon the land will return to the people with help from brave people like us. We give Grind Van Cleef's head and receive thanks from the militia for our efforts. This marks the beginning of the end for the Defias. Back to Stormwind, we can give the badge to Wilder from his brother. Even though the news is not happy, he is glad to know the fate of his brother and not have to wonder anymore. We also give him the Union cards we collected. He can use these to make sure the families can be notified of this tragedy. Over to Shoni, we give her the Gnome Spreckle Sprocket. No Morgan is one step closer to liberation, I guess. We give the unsent letter to Barrows, who would have expected a letter from his dead grandma before one from Van Cleef. He's surprised we managed to take him down, as Van Cleef was a strong fighter in his younger years. Barrows reads the letter and describes Van Cleef as being as idealistic as ever. He doesn't care who he hurts in his revenge, and Barrows can't blame him. Barrows was a stonemason with Van Cleef and helped to rebuild Stormwind. The nobles refused to pay them once they were done. Some of the senior masons were offered government jobs, but Van Cleef refused out of loyalty to all the stonemasons. He led a riot and left the city, swearing his revenge. Basil Thread might know more about Van Cleef's plans, but he's held in the stockade. We can ask Warden Thellwater about seeing Basil Thread, but he seems to be having a crisis right now. How is he supposed to know we aren't one of Basil's goons, coming to help his riot? He'd throw us in a cell if they weren't all useless right now. He doesn't trust us, but us going into the stockade probably won't change much anyway. He gives us a deal. We can talk to Basil in the riot. If we find him, we can kill him after and bring back his head. If we don't come back, we'll die with the rest of the rioters. Since we're going in, we can also help quell the riot. If it gets out that Thellwater lost control of the prison, he'll lose his job. What's more important is subduing the prisoners to keep the safety of Stormwind. The punishment is death in this case, so let's bring a show of force to subdue them by killing 26 people. This concludes the story of Westfall. We learned a lot more about the Defias and what they were doing to Westfall and Elwyn. We can do the stockades after we finish the other areas, so I'll see you next time in Red Ridge Mountains. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see each new release on every second Sunday. We have a Discord server now available in the description of this video called Azerothian Historian, so come hang out if you'd like. I've always liked the Defias storyline. The corrupt nobles just deciding to not pay the people who remade their homes is asking for a civil war. I have no idea how they thought pissing off all the craftsmen would benefit them. Van Cleef isn't innocent either. The people of Elwyn and Westfall didn't deserve to be cheated and stolen from because the rich decided to cheat the stonemasons. We can see where this tale goes over the next few areas. See you next time.